Hey y'all, I'm Krystal and welcome back to my Texas garden. Today I'm going to be doing a homestead update and it's finally time to pick some lemons. Oh. Now if you're new around here, welcome. And if you're all about gardening naturally, go ahead and hit that subscribe button and don't forget to smash the bell icon so you're notified every time I post a new video. So if you look around my yard, especially first thing in the morning, when there's still a lot of dew on the grass, the yard is extremely quiet all over the place. Sunday morning, we woke up to a chicken massacre in our yard. When I say massacre, I mean massacre. Sundays is my day to sort of sleep in. I don't wake up at 5:30 in the morning like I do every other day. I sleep in till 7:30, 8 o'clock, and then we get ready and we go to church. So let me tell you the backstory. It was pretty much first light. My husband woke up to kind of a thumping sound on our bedroom wall. He thought that I had already let Duke out for the day. When he got up, he saw Duke was still in the house, but you have pollen all over you. Duke wanted out, so he let him out. Duke took about 3 steps from the door, and my husband said he was acting weird. So he was just kind of staring something down. So my husband decided to step out and see what Duke was staring at. What he found was 3 dogs on our front porch, right by our bedroom window and wall. 2 of the dogs had chickens in their mouth. He immediately recognized the dogs, spun back around, and ran back into our bedroom to grab his snake gun, which is a 12-gauge shotgun. And he also woke me up by saying what I thought he said was the dogs in the yard with the chickens. And I said, yeah, just let him out. Duke is, he's with the chickens all the time. I thought that was kind of weird. My husband said, no, there are dogs in our yard and they had chickens in their mouth. So I jump up and I come running behind him. And the dogs were still in our yard, trying to, run out because they know they had been seen. They were trying to make their escape. He let off a couple of rounds, and fortunately for the dogs, they outran his 12-gauge snake gun. And if you shoot skeet, or anything about shotguns, you know that they don't shoot very far. So, like I said, my husband recognized the dogs, and then I recognized the dogs to be my neighbor's dogs. Now, these people moved in a couple of years back. They're a young couple, like literally just had a baby, young couple. And so we went over to their house, woke them up, and told them what happened. And I had one picture of the chicken that was dropped on my front porch. I also let them know that this is not the first time their dogs have been in my yard. This is the first time I'm actually speaking about this publicly. Shortly after Roscoe disappeared, the dogs came into my yard. They came in the middle of the day. It was 2 of them at this time. The 3rd one did not come into the yard or was not seen in my yard. It was actually stood outside the gate or made its way outside the gate before my husband could see him. He was working in his wood shop. And he saw the dogs run past him. And he ran out and saw 2 of the dogs had roosters in their mouth. Now, the reason why I didn't say anything at this time is because at the time I had a ton of roosters. These particular 2 roosters were older roosters. At that point, my husband started keeping a loaded snake gun in the shop. And it wasn't 2 weeks later, the dogs attempted to come back into the yard. He saw them and he let off a couple of rounds and they ran off without getting any of my chickens at that time. Now, I have had, over the last few months, I've had chickens come up missing. But I assumed that these particular chickens that were missing were older, and that maybe they just kind of went off to die, because our yard is 2 acres. And there's a lot of places that a chicken can hide to die, especially an older one. But now I'm thinking different. So I let her know that, and they were both like, whoa, they couldn't believe it. I also let her know that they got 2 of my cats. Again, they were just like, I cannot believe this. We have 2 cats. The chickens free range in the yard. They don't do anything to the cats. They don't do anything to the chickens. I can't believe this happened. I said, I would not be over here unless we caught them red-handed. And that's what happened. We caught them red-handed. They also agreed to pay for the chickens. Now, I did let them know I did not have a chance to go through the yard yet and see how much damage the dogs actually caused. This all happened at first light, first thing in the morning. So anyway, came back home and walked the yard, and we initially found a total of 12 hens, 1 rooster, and 1 female duck. And when I say massacre, I don't mean, normally like if a domestic dog wants to kill a chicken, they'll usually just shake them to death. The majority of these chickens look like they had been played tug-of-war with. It was a horrible mess. It was a horrible scene. So I took pictures of everything. I am not going to share the pictures on any social media platform. I think I did post a picture to my Facebook page, and it was just a pile of feathers. I'm not going to show any body parts. Nobody needs to see that. I did show all those pictures to my neighbor, and I offered to give her any pictures she wanted. She was really kind of grossed out by the pictures and heartbroken, because like I said, it was a massacre. They tore my young rooster to pieces. My son came out to clean everything up for me. One of my friends, her husband, showed up and was bringing me some plant goodies from her, and that was a really nice break, I'm telling you. And took a couple of plant goodies home for her from me. And so during this time when I'm talking to him, my son cleaned up everything for me. My son also found another hen, but we couldn't tell if it was an older hen or a younger hen. It was just bad. I mean, he couldn't tell which hen it was. Remember, I had 4 chicks that were hatched on my front porch. 3 little hens and 1 rooster is what it turned out to be. 2 of the hens were killed in the Sunday morning massacre, along with the excellent broody hen. She was also killed. She wasn't a great layer, and honestly, she was kind of wild. She didn't like to be around me. But when it came to being a broody hen and taking care of her chicks, she was awesome. So losing her it's super heartbreaking. Like I said, my son found another hen, and then Monday afternoon, the cats found another rooster. So our total count was 13 hens, 2 roosters, and 2 female ducks. Now, 10 of the 13 hens that were found were young hens. The oldest ones were a year old, and pretty much just, I mean, they were laying, but they were starting to get more regular. And then the 2 of the youngest, they were just barely 6 months and hadn't started laying yet. And I was actually expecting them to start laying any day. So I did give my neighbor a bill for replacing my hens. Now, I tried to be super fair about it since there were so many birds involved in this. What I did charge them for was just my 10 young hens. I feel like I was within my right to charge them for every single chicken and rooster and duck that was killed. But because of the amount of birds and because the fact that these are sweet kids, and yes, I'm calling them kids. They just had a baby. I was trying to be more fair, so I just charged them for the chickens that had more value. Now, all of my chickens and ducks have value, but there's more value in something that's giving me eggs on a daily basis. I hope that makes sense. I'd like to say this is the first time that I've ever had a chicken massacre. Before I got Roscoe, a year before I got Roscoe, I'd lost my 2 elderly German Shepherds. And so I decided to start letting the chickens free range at that point. Before that, they were just in a coop because I was afraid that my German Shepherds would hurt them because they were not raised with chickens. And with older dogs, especially German Shepherds, I found that it was really, really hard to train them. So it was just much easier to keep the chickens in the coop. So when my last elderly dog passed, I went ahead and started letting the chickens free range. Y'all, it wasn't a month later I had an attack on my chickens, and it was first thing in the morning, just like this. It was 2 dogs that dug under the fence, and at this time, I think I lost like 20, 24. It was bad. The numbers were high, but they weren't tore up. This time they were really tore up. And going back to when I told you that I showed my neighbor the pictures, the wife didn't want to see the pictures. The husband was like, okay. I thought it was important for them to see the pictures. And the reason why is because they keep chickens too. And because they keep chickens and because these dogs got a taste of blood, and they were able to chase and play with the chickens to death. I wanted them to see the damage the dogs caused, not to make them hate their dogs or anything, but to give them a warning, because I am afraid that unless the dogs are put up into a kennel or kept away from these chickens, that they're going to do the same thing to them. So for me, I thought it was important to show them the pictures, and even her. And she looked at a few of them and then turned away. Like I said, they were bad. The husband looked at all of them. I think the last 2, he had had enough. He had seen enough. But I thought it was important to share those pictures with them. Not to gross them out or anything, but just to give them a warning. And I also let them know that in the country there is a code that if the dogs were caught in my yard again, that they would be eliminated on site. And if you don't understand what that means, I'm not going to explain that. We're not horrible people, but my chickens don't deserve to go through the pain that they went through. You know what I mean? So, now, the neighbors have made good, showing me, proving to me that they are good people and good neighbors. The first time this happened is the reason why Roscoe came to live with us. Now, I lost Roscoe 11 months ago. And if Roscoe had been here, the scenario would be so much different. I don't think a single chicken would have been lost. I do think that their dogs would have either been killed or badly injured. And after losing Roscoe, I really contemplated getting another livestock guardian dog. Duke is not a livestock guardian dog any way, shape, or form. He does not have it in him. He is a pet, and there is a huge difference between a livestock guardian and a pet. Duke is a pet. The truth is that when Duke saw the dogs, he didn't even give chase. He hightailed it and ran back into the house. I mean, that's just the way it is. So after we surveyed the damage before my son can get it cleaned up, Duke had to go outside because he hadn't been outside yet. You know, he hadn't gone out to do his business. So he was walking around the yard, and he was walking up to the bodies, and he would sniff, and he would try to nudge them with his nose, and he just let out this, I mean, just crying. He was just every single one he came up to, he was crying, and he had slobber coming out of his mouth. And he was just extremely upset. And even now, there's a couple of piles of feathers that my son didn't get cleaned up, and that's okay, because that's okay. I mean, they're just feathers, right? There's no blood or anything, but he'll pass up a pile of feathers and he'll kind of nudge them around and he'll let off a little cry. So he knows that something really bad happened and that his friends died, and they weren't there. And so yeah, it's been real somber around here. I've still got 2 cats missing, and I assume that they just kind of ran off, and they'll be back. That's what I assume. All the animals, the chickens, just now today are starting to act a little bit more normal. Those first couple of days, man, they wouldn't even come up to us to get food. And if you keep chickens, you know that when it comes to food, they don't miss out on food. And all they wanted to do was hide and not even come up around us. So everything's starting to kind of chill out around here, and the animals are starting to act more normal. So, like I said, good people, good neighbors, and they even have their dogs pinned up right now. Picking lemons. I think some lemon meringue pie is in order. One thing about picking lemons or limes or any citrus, thorns. I don't like thorns, they hurt. Y'all see that right there? That's a spider. And you can kind of see the spider in there. We're going to leave her be. I don't mind spiders so much. I mean, I used to. Ouch. Not anymore. I realize how good they are for pest control and eating bad bugs. So I don't worry with them too much. Hey, son. Know why I called you out here now? He's saying no, he doesn't know, but I think he does. Need to borrow your height real quick. Okay, while you're picking there, I'm gonna go check these oranges over here. This is supposed to be blood oranges. I have no clue. This is the first year that they've made anything. No clue. We'll find out. Which brings me back around to the bees. And so the news on them is they swarmed. I have a couple of friends on Facebook who have been keeping bees for a long time, like 20 years. And that was what they thought would happen, that they had been hanging in this tree for several days, and that the scouts were already out looking for another place. And even though I gave them a hive, the scouts had already scouted some other place out, and that they would swarm. Also, I never spotted a queen. Never did. Never found a queen. Now, there could have been a juvenile queen in there, and the juvenile queens are still small, and they look like the other bees. So that could have been it, or the queen died. A lot of possibilities there. For those of you who keep bees or have kept bees for a while, if you think that I should keep food over here for them, if that would bring them back or maybe bring another swarm, let me know in the comments below. I'm very curious, because in my mind, I would think that keeping food out here in the wintertime would attract them back in, but it could also just do nothing but feed the wasp, and I don't necessarily want to do that. Even though they are pollinators, they don't do as good of a job at pollinating as the bees. Right now, there's a lot of food in the fields for the bees. We've got goldenrod in full bloom. We've got sunchokes, and I think they're sunchokes. I haven't dug any up, but I'm pretty sure they're sunchokes, just because I've grown them before and know what they look like. There's also other different flowers. My pear tree is blooming, oddly enough, and also my loquats are blooming. So tons and tons of food for the bees. But if you think by me filling this back up and leaving it back out here next to the hive box that has drawn honeycomb in it already, let me know in the comments below. I don't want to keep wasting sugar water on wasp. I guess you can't reach up that high, huh? Huh? Way up there. You can't? You can? Bring down that branch and see if those are soft up there. Oh, you already did. Did you open one? You gonna open it and taste? Don't throw it. No. All right, here you go.
It's a lemon, isn't it? Yeah, you didn't even know what your own tree was.
No. Well, I have, that's supposed to be a grapefruit, and that's, oh my gosh, that's so sour. So, the mosquitoes are starting to tear us up. That's the Homestead Updates, what I have for you guys today. My next video is going to be about herbs that you can grow in the fall, and not just cilantro and parsley. So, I better get going and start cooking dinner before that one right behind me asks me what's for dinner.